Hi, welcome to this DCP web tutorial. In today's tutorial, I'm going to be showing you how to use GIMP, Graphic Image Manipulation Program, which is a free piece of software, and we're going to be using this software to crop an image and also resize it and compress it. We're using this tutorial to show you an example of how you can manipulate images before you add them to your website. The main focus is to compress the image and resize it so that it loads quickly. This is the objective of this tutorial. So before we start this tutorial, I just want to show you this one image, and here we can see this image. I'm going to open it, and it's a picture of a car steering wheel, you could say, with the sky up here, and if I zoom in, it's very high quality, it's very clear image, which is great. But the actual image itself, if we look at it carefully, we can see that it's 6.1 megabytes in file size, which is pretty large file. We don't really want to be uploading images at this file size to our websites. This will just take too long to download. And we can also see that the image is 3,464 pixels wide and the same in the height. And because it's a photographed image, it's actually 300 dpi. So I'm going to show you how to manipulate the image using this software to reduce the width and the height, and also reduce the DPI and reduce the overall file size down from 6.1 megabytes to a fraction of this size to make sure it loads very quickly. So in order to do this, we need to download a few pieces of software. I'm going to actually open up my Firefox web browser, and in Google I've typed in GIMP. I'm just going to refresh that, GIMP, and we'll see this website here, this image manipulation program. So we're going to click on this link, and we're going to get to this website, and we're going to click on this download button here, and it's going to take us to the download page, and the download link is right here. This is the download link to download this software, and you can see a user manual. So if you want to download the manual and read more about this software at a later date, you can do that. I would advise you that you try and download this manual and see if you can read up more on this software. I'll be doing more tutorials later, but this is just a beginning tutorial. And down here at the bottom we can see other locations where we can download this software from, if we need to download it from a different location. This particular installation is for Windows XP, Windows 7, which is what I'm actually using, or Windows 8. So you can download it. I'm pretty sure there's a Mac version. You may want to Google a Mac version to see if there's a Mac version available. So I'm going to click on this download link, and it's going to direct me to this website. It's a repository website called SourceForge, and here, if we wait a few seconds, your download would start in, and there was a timer here. It's only a 5-second timer, and as it ticks down to 0, this pop-up box is going to appear. Now on your particular web browser you're using, if you're not using Firefox, if it's Internet Explorer, you might see the pop-up down here, or if it's Google Chrome, it might be in a slightly different location, but in general you should see this pop-up appear. And we can see the file size. This is the file name, and this is the file size. It's 86 megabytes in size. So I'm going to click save, and it's going to start downloading this file. If for any reason that pop-up doesn't appear or you can't find it, you can click this link here, right here, to do a direct download, which is really going to do the same process again. But if for any reason if it didn't load, you can use this link here. I'm actually going to stop this from downloading. I've already installed this software, but once it's downloaded, you can install the software. Just follow the basic instructions. In Firefox, once it's downloaded, you double click here, or if it's in Google Chrome, you should have a similar process, or Internet Explorer, and follow the basic instructions on screen to get the software installed on your machine. Once you've downloaded and installed that software, we need to download one more application. It's really a plugin for Firefox, but this plugin is also used or can be downloaded for Google Chrome and various other web browsers. And the plugin I'm talking about is actually located here on my browser. It's called MeasureIt. And we'll download this, or show you how to download this first, and I'll explain actually how to use this. It's really a tool that's going to let us work out exactly what size image we need to create before we go and do any image manipulation. It's worth knowing the size first before we actually go and do the editing of the image itself. So What we're going to do is go to Google again, and we're going to type in MeasureIt. If we type in MeasureIt with a space, we'll see there's Chrome, there's Firefox, and there's Safari. And I want the Firefox version. You may want to download the Chrome or the Safari version, or try typing in the different browser that you're using if you're using something else. But these are the main three browsers that, these are quite Internet Explorer, there may be a version as well. So I'm going to click on Firefox, and this link here, I'm going to select it. And when the website loads, I'm going to click Add to Firefox. And when I do that, it's going to ask me to allow this, adding this to the Firefox. I'm going to click Allow, and it's going to download it, and it's going to ask me to confirm this installation. So I need to click Install Now, and then this pop-up is going to appear again. It's going to ask me to restart Firefox. I'm going to click the button, and Firefox will restart, and it's going to ensure that this plugin is installed. So here we can see this plugin. When you've done this job, you'll see this plugin is installed here. Now we're actually going to use this plugin, this MeasureIt plugin, to work out what size width we need our image to be before we actually go and do the image editing. This is quite important. So I'm going to go to my own website as an example. You can go to your own website, or you can go to dcpweb.co.uk, and you can follow this tutorial here. And really what I want to do is add an image above this title here. It's only an example, so I'm not going to leave the image there, but I'm just going to use this as an example. And I want to put the image here, but I want to make sure that it's the same width as this text here, from this edge here to this edge here. I want to make sure it's the same width. There's various ways that you can work out this width. You could, do this in many different ways, but the easiest way I've found, or the most, easiest way to do this, is ready to install this plugin. When you click on it, your website's going to kind of grey out in the background, and you're going to get this crosshair, and I'm going to use this crosshair to work out the width. So if I select on the left side of this text here and drag it across to the right side, I can see that the image width that I need to create is 660 pixels wide. I'm not too bothered about the actual height of the image. I'm more concerned about the width of the image. The height will kind of work itself out, and you'll see that as we go through this tutorial. The height you can't really manipulate too much. It's the width that we need to work out, and the height will really sort itself out. So 660 pixels, you want to write that down on when you do this on your website. You want to write that down on a piece of paper, or keep a notepad file and write that down for reference, so you don't need to remember it. So in Notepad, I've really referenced two sizes. I've got the 660 pixels here, and I've got the original file size of this image, which was, if we double check again, we'll see that it's 3464 wide. Let's make that correct. 64. Okay. The next thing we're going to do is actually open up this software we downloaded. You should be able to find that on your start bar. You may need to go into all programs and find it in here. It should be here somewhere. It's actually up here. Here it is here. So once we've launched the software application, we need to actually get this image open in this software. As default, it's going to draw this blank canvas. Don't worry about this image here. This is just like some background thing for the canvas. This is, you can forget about this here. But this is just really just a blank canvas. There's nothing here. There's not even an image inside. And there's two ways we can get this image in here. The easy way, if you've got it on your desktop or in another location, is just to drag and drop the image into this canvas, and it's going to create this image. It's going to really do a few things here. I'll explain to you in a minute. Or we can open it using this open tool and browse to the image and open it as well using this tool here. Once we've got the image open in our browser, we need to make sure this toolbox is open, this little toolbox panel, and we can do that by clicking on Windows and then clicking on Toolbox. And the other option we need open is Layers. These other boxes, they're not relevant for this tutorial, but we need Layers and we need Toolbox. To get the layers open, you go to Windows and you go to Dockable Dialogues and you select Layers. So this will show the image that we selected and the tools that we need to use. In this case, we only need to use one tool, and it's called the crop tool. So we're going to select this crop tool here, and we're going to drag, without holding down the mouse, we're going to drag across the image and select what we want to crop. I actually want to get rid of most of this sky and keep the steering wheel with a little bit of blue sky here as an example. The easy way I find of doing this is if you drag inside here, for example, you're going to end up cropping most of this side of this image, and you may want to do that if you want to, but if I want to keep the width of the image but just get rid of the sky, if I start outside the canvas and drag across and drag to the bottom, it's going to make sure I've got the full width there. If you drag too high, so if you drag from up here somewhere, for example up here, it's only going to really get rid of this part of the blue sky. So if you move your mouse cursor to the top of this crop tool, this box will appear and you can left click and drag down, and this will allow you to easily and accurately resize the crop that you're going to perform. So the highlighted part of the image is what we're going to keep, and the darker part of the image is what we're going to remove. Once you've got the image in the right place, or this crop in the right place, you hit the enter key and it's going to remove the darker part of the image, and this is what we're going to be left with. This is what we want. Now the image looks fine, and this is good, but we can see, if you look carefully here, the actual image is still 3,464 pixels wide. Although the height is less, the width is still the same as it was in the original image, which was way too wide. Remember, we want our image to be 660 pixels, so this is still way too wide. So we're going to use a couple of other tools to resize this image and make sure it's the correct width. So what we're going to do is make sure we select the image from the layers. So we click on it, we can see it's highlighted blue. We're going to go to image and we're going to go to scale image. When we click on the scale image, this box is going to pop up, and you need to make sure that this little, it almost looks like a link to a chain. Make sure that it's selected. If you uncheck it, it's broken. We want to make sure that it's linked together on both of these options here, these two here. And in this width, we're going to type in 660 pixels. If it's your own website and you did a slightly different measurement, then you need to type that measurement into here. When we click on the height, it's going to work out the height for us. So really what it's doing is constraining the image to make sure the image doesn't get squashed. Whatever we set the width is going to work out the height for us. Because this image was taken on a digital camera, it's set to 300 dpi. In a later tutorial, I'll explain the difference between 300 dpi and other resolutions. But for this tutorial, we need to set it to 72 dpi. Set both of these to 72 dpi. And then we'll click the scale button. And when we do that, we're going to see the image is very small. We're going to think maybe something's gone wrong here. It's really this zoom here is way too low. It's at 18.2% zoom, but we need to set it to 100. Now this is exactly what the image will actually look like on our website when I upload it to the website. We can see it's actually the right size now. It's 660 pixels and 348. I didn't actually decide the height. The height was worked out by whatever width I gave it. So we don't want to squash the image. We want to keep it at its correct ratio. So the ratio is worked out by itself. The 348, it did that by itself. When we set the width here, it did the height automatically. Now that we have the image at the right width and height, we need to now export the image and make sure we save it correctly. So we're going to go to File and we're going to go to Export, and this window will pop up, and as default it's selected JPEG. If it hasn't got the JPEG there, you can type it in .jpeg, or you can scroll down in this select file type. Normally it's closed down like this. You need to click the little box or click on the name and it will expand, and we're looking for J for JPEG. We'll make sure we select JPEG, and this will make sure the image we save it as a JPEG. That's what we want to save the image as when we're creating an image for our website. In most cases it will be a JPEG. Now if you notice, the file when we save it is going to be called car_image.jpg, and that happens to be the same file name as the original image, and we don't really want to overwrite this image. We want to keep our original image, and we're going to rename this image as a different file so we don't overwrite it. So I'm going to call it car_image_compressed. So I'll just make sure we don't overwrite this original image. we click the export button. It's going to ask, I've actually got an image of this same file name. I'm just going to replace it, it doesn't matter for this tutorial. And this little box is going to pop up. I need to see this box and the original image behind it, so I'm going to move this across so that I can see this box here and the image below. And I can see this quality bar here is set to 100, and I need to tick this option here, show preview in image window. When I tick that, whatever I set this 100% or this image slider to, it's going to show me how that's going to affect this image. So a bad example is I'm going to set it to 0, and you can see the image is very heavily pixelated. Although it's a very small file size, 5.6 kilobytes, is badly pixelated, and we don't want our image to look like this. If I set it to 100%, it's at 207 kilobytes. The original image was 6 megabytes in file size, if you remember. It's 6 megabytes, which is 6,000 kilobytes. So we've actually taken the original image and reduced it down to 207 kilobytes. But we can actually make it even smaller than this. So what we're going to do is move this image slider down, and we're going to set it to around 70 to 80%. And if we look at the image itself, it still looks like it's pretty decent quality. It's not pixel perfect, but it's good enough for our website. Remember, we want this image to load quite quickly on the website. We don't want it to take a long time. And the image itself looks pretty good to me at 43.5 kilobytes. So we've taken the original image at 6,000 kilobytes and we've reduced it down to a fraction of that original size to 43.5 kilobytes. So we're going to click the export button, and it's going to save it to my computer. It's going to save it to the desktop. I'm going to minimize, and I'm going to find that image, and here's the image, compressed image, and here's the original image. So let's just look at the properties. This is the compressed version and this is the original version, and we can see we've dramatically reduced the file size. This is going to take a fraction of the time to load compared to this original image here, and we've cropped it, so we've done some work to the image to make it how we want it to look in this particular example. I'm going to OK this and OK this, close them down. So the last thing I really want to do is I'm going to deselect this measure tool, this MeasureIt tool, and I really want to add this image here to show you an example of that image on my website. I'm only going to add it there temporarily just to show you, so I'm going to go ahead and do that now quickly. If you just give me 1 second. So I've added the image to the website. I'm going to refresh the website, and you can see the image has been placed in this location here where I wanted it, just above this title here. I typically wouldn't have added this particular image to my website, but as a tutorial and as an example, I wanted to use this image because it allowed me to crop it and also resize it and do all of the work to reduce the file size. And we can check the file size now. We can view, if we right click on the image and view image info, we can see that it's only 41 kilobytes. This is going to load way quicker than the 6 megabyte file we originally had. So we've done quite a lot of work to this image, and that's really the basis of this tutorial: how to resize the image, how to find what size image we want to create as well, and how to crop it. So we got rid of the sky at the top here, and how to compress it or export it and compress it so that it's a smaller file size. So that's the end of this tutorial.